Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Hey everyone, this is going to be a different episode this week. So I wanted to do a little bit of a roundup from this year, just kind of reflecting with you all because the holidays are such a busy time and I've got some great episodes lined up for the coming weeks. I am really excited about them. I'm actually going to be bringing Ashley Kaltwasser back on tomorrow. I'll be interviewing her. We'll be celebrating her 50 wins, being the most decorated IFBB pro in history, and how wonderful that it's a bikini competitor. Back in 2018, when I started this podcast, I remember seeing the bikini division was on the rise, and I thought that the women deserved a lot more celebration and spotlight than they were getting. And beyond the, features and covers and social media clout, if you want to call it that, I really wanted to shine light on their incredible perspectives and life on and off the stage. So just to see someone like Ashley really put bikini in that place is incredible. And I'm going to be interviewing some really great athletes coming up too. So I'm excited about that. And obviously, we've had such a great year. I want to share one of the goals that I had. Well, there were multiple goals. If you guys remember, I did a goal episode back in May to share some of the thoughts I had for the podcast. And so much has changed in my life personally and professionally. So as you can see behind me, if you've been watching any of the episodes on YouTube, celestial_fit, you've seen the background change. So I had a whole podcast studio set up in my house, which was awesome and beautiful and wonderful, but I didn't host any guests over in person. That project was a lot more consuming than I expected it would be, and despite having the preparation for it, I realized the impact that I wanted to be making with the podcast was already being made without that, and that was adding a lot of extra stress and pressure where I felt that my gifts could better be utilized and implemented in the way that they already are and in my business the way that they were, but on a bigger level where it needed to be. So I've moved some of that stuff in the background of this, and I may eventually make different pockets in my office for that. Another thing that's changed is I'm engaged to the love of my life. He's incredible. And with that has come a lot of shifts in my personal life and realizations. And I'm still obviously going to be doing this podcast in my business. None of that's changing. But it's just opened my eyes to some different things, along with me getting some support in my own personal life areas where I'm like, I needed a lot of growth there and I had some breakthroughs. So it's just given me a different perspective. But one of the goals I set out last year, and it was on my little values/vision board, um, it has my logo, Confessions of Bikini Pro, but imagine there's like a globe right here. That's what I've had on the background of my computer screen, among other photos, which were also so wonderfully achieved, which is awesome. And we'll talk about that too, and hopefully give you guys some insight into setting goals that you can also achieve and feel really proud of and good about, and also know there's flexibility allowed in that. But one of the goals, the reason why it was the logo with a globe on it was because I wanted to reach more countries. What is so cool is since Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast went live, we have been listened to in 190 countries. When I Google it, there's like 195 countries. Now, granted, some of the listens have been like one listen in those places, or one download, I should say, in those places. But that's still something. And the fact that I wanted to see that grow this year and to see it have grown more, the impact into other countries is really amazing. And I credit that to the sport obviously expanding and also your guys' incredible support and encouragement to athletes to come on to this show and represent their countries. Um, or the word just spreading through social media and through this incredible ability we have to connect online with each other and share resources. To that point, I just want to say thank you so much to those of you who recommend my podcast in Facebook groups or online forums or on comments and posts and stories and DMs. Like I see it, it doesn't go unnoticed, and it means so much to me. It really, really does. Actually, one thing that stood out to me recently was someone asked for a recommendation on mental health podcasts and mine came up. And you know what's so interesting about that is when I started this podcast, I knew it was to feature the lives of athletes on and off the stage, of course, as the intro has never changed. But I I never knew it would eventually become known as like a mental health podcast, which is wonderful, and I'm so thankful for that. Um, so thank you guys. And thank you for allowing me to have these types of conversations, whether you've been a guest and you've been willing to have the deep conversations, or you've listened and your listening and encouragement has fostered other deeper conversations in the industry. It's so wonderful and amazing. Your kind words that you guys share via message to me, or if I get on a phone call with you guys, whether that's through my counseling and client work or it's through just intro calls. I can't tell you how much that means to me. There's been times where I've gone really, really dark, really, really low. This is purpose. It's a way for me to use God's gift for me and in my life to glorify Him. And many of you have pointed out how much my relationship with God has changed over the years of this podcast. And I'm thankful for that. Very thankful for that. Um, and I'm appreciative that y'all have been receptive to it too. And it's a really beautiful thing to be able to share that. Another thing that I wanted to just briefly touch on is how amazed I am by some of the changes that have occurred in, I think, the way that we think and the way that we speak to each other. It started out in January. I was honored to go and speak at the NPC Women's Workshop on mental health. That was an incredible dream come true opportunity. And I got to do a lot of that this year. I traveled to Tulum with Whitney Weiser, co-coached one of her amazing retreats with her. I got to go on a cruise with Team Flex and meet their incredible athletes, and we went on a cruise together. It was so wonderful, and I got to lead a workshop there. I got to go to Utah and speak at a grand opening of an event thanks to just the incredible connections that I've made through this podcast. It was a wonderful experience, and that event really stood out to me. It was like a major memory maker and a shift in my life because I got to meet really great people in person who I hadn't met before. But beyond that, what it showed me was how vulnerable a lot of us are in this industry. And when we come together and we actually share and we talk about things, we connect and we grow so beautifully. And I got to spend time with some people in the industry and share a stage with people in the industry. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with Jessica Wilson and Ashley Kaltwasser, and they were both there. And that was wonderful. But I also got to spend time with Tanya, and I had her on the podcast, Tanya Johansson, and it was so great. And it was just such a wonderful experience. I also got to connect with some other amazing people in the industry, including Jack Sullivan and Steve DeVore. I was really surprised by the conversations we got to have together. It was really beautiful. And so that showed me even more, of that beauty and of that value and of those experiences that I get to have in this industry. Truly, it was wonderful. So I'm really thankful. I also got to do coaching for a rock climbing team. I got to speak and host my own events. I hosted my first 10-month psychoeducation and support group mastermind, which was a wonderful group of women. I I'm really thankful for the opportunities I had to travel and to foster great experiences and to share the Build More Than Just a Body message. And none of that would have even happened without this podcast. But beyond that, like it's your guys' support. And I'm really thankful that you all trust me in your journey, whether that's just trusting me to speak in your ear while you're doing cardio and I ask lots of questions of these incredible women, or it's you investing in me or spending the time to look into the resources that I have. It's an incredible thing. So thank you so much for being a part of it. Another thing I wanted to briefly touch on is if you guys have recommendations for athletes or topics of conversation you want to hear on the podcast, never hesitate to send them my way. I'm always looking for athletes. I've been asked before, like, what is the criteria? How do I get on your podcast? I want to hear from everybody. I want my podcast to be a place where a legacy can be left, where people can show this to their loved ones, their friends, their families, and say, my journey was not just important, but impactful, and it's meaningful and it matters, not just because you go to the Olympia, but because you stepped on stage, you earned your pro card, that is the requirement is that you're an IFBB bikini pro, unless I'm doing a special feature or something. So yeah, recommend your athletes or recommend yourself. If you have a story you want to share, I want to encourage you. Or if you've been listening forever and you're going for your pro card and you're excited that one day you could come on here, like I love hearing those stories and it's been wonderful to connect. This year a lot, it seemed like a lot of the guests this year and last year were like, I've been listening forever. And so I'm just grateful that I get to bring you guys on here and share a platform with you. So I'm learning so much from all of you. I learn a lot from your messages following the episodes, and I learn a lot from the guests that I have. And so I want to continue to foster a community among all of us and provide a great topic of conversation or provide great insights from these conversations. It means so much to me to be able to do that. Now, one of the exciting things I have coming up too is I'm going to be bringing my coach back on. Some of you have requested a prep like a prep update from me, which I always said, I'm not going to do solo episodes until I'm an IFBB pro and really talk about those things. But that update went really, really well. And I think Adam is incredible. So Adam Atkinson will be back on. We're going to talk about my prep journey, some exciting things that we've had to do in this prep, but also how we're bringing and we've brought my best and we're building and some of the mental struggles I've faced too along the way. So I hope that that really touches those of you who are amateurs on the same journey as me to earn your pro card and work for it, but also not identify so much with it that you lose your identity and what really truly matters, whether that's Christ or your values. For me, it's Christ. So, that being said, I'm excited for that episode to just talk with you guys about what we've been doing, both from a strategic standpoint, but from a mental standpoint and from a life standpoint. How do you prep while keeping your life going? I mean, like I said, so much has changed in my life. I got out of a toxic relationship, found the man of my dreams, met his son, we're engaged, we're all living under the same roof. It's incredible. Um, so just to be able to share that along with navigating life and competing on an even bigger scale than I've done before. My goal was never just to help people build more than just a body, but to show people how freeing it is when you do. And I'm going to continue to work to serve you guys in that way. I do have some special offers. I have a holiday compilation of resources and videos you can purchase now. I have tons of free resources on my website always. You guys have heard about that. And I would recommend if you are looking to compete or you are competing or you're coming out of a show season and you've struggled with food or your body image in any way, shape, or form, now is a great time to work with me. You don't want that to hold you back in your next prep. You don't want it to hold you back in your improvement season. And you don't want it to hold you back mentally from being present if you are transitioning to a different phase in your life. So I want to offer that to you guys. That's always on www.celestial.fit, along with all the interviews we've ever done. Did you know you can search on the celestial.fit/podcast site and you can find athletes by name alphabetically, or you can use the search bar. You could go to Google and you could type in Confessions of a Bikini Pro Eating Disorders. And you could get different episodes that mention that because I have an incredible assistant, Laura, who does all the notes. She not only does episode timestamps, but also full bulleted list of topics we covered, as well as an episode summary. makes it very, very easy not just to find and connect with the athletes, but also to see what it is we're talking about and find what you're looking for. Of course, all the episodes are usually recorded with video now too. Those are on YouTube. You can watch them there. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it when they come out. And thank you guys so much for listening, for sharing, for leaving beautiful, amazing reviews. I read them. They mean a lot to me. And again, thank you for encouraging others to tune in. If you do have a guest you'd like to hear on the podcast, DM me on Instagram at celestial_fit, and I will check them out. And I would love to consider them. Or if it's you, please reach out, share some of your story with me if I haven't seen it or heard about it already. And also keep in mind, Instagram now, like if you DM someone and they're not following you, you cannot DM them again. So it might be worth checking your request because it's very possible I've already reached out to you, or to the person you want on. So bear with me as I work to get more guests on the podcast. We've got some great people lined up for the rest of this month and into the new year. Those are the updates I wanted to provide. I'm sure I'm missing so much, but the main point is I'm always so, so grateful that I get to serve in this way. And that I have your guys' support. So, as always, get any free resources or support that you need at www.celestial.fit for your mental health to support you in building more than just a body.